MMA Roadshow, episode number 241. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. We are in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, sitting out here at the Casa de Cold Coffee, just overlooking the grounds here in the massive estate. I mean, it's November, Cold Coffee. It is November, and it is 75 degrees. I got on a T-shirt, shorts. Not that the shorts are really much of an indication of weather, to be honest with you, but still a T-shirt and flip-flops. I don't understand why anybody would live in a cold place, man. This is just about as beautiful as it gets, man. November, and we're soaking in the sun, not a cloud in the sky. That's the place to be.
I love it. For all of our European and everybody else in the rest of the world, that is a sunny 26 degrees Celsius.
Oh, fancy. Look at you.
I know. Well, luckily this computer can tell me what Celsius is.
Who uses Celsius? Nobody uses that.
Nobody uses that stuff. Those people that use the kilometers and the metric system and all that other crazy stuff. But yeah, it's beautiful right now. And it's funny, like I've been getting up earlier in the morning running old Agent H to work, and it's been I'll put like a sweatshirt on and I'll still have shorts. And even then I feel like I don't need the sweatshirt, but like by midday it's like the sweatshirt has to come off, man, because now it's all warmed up and it feels so good. And as we've always said, like, this is the perfect time to come visit. So I have some family coming in town next week.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm super stoked because literally this is the perfect time to come visit. So whatever they want to do, it's like, all right, wherever you want to go, whatever. You can't complain that, oh, it's too hot to go here, it's too hot to go wherever. No. You could literally do anything.
It's crazy. So. We're, like 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and I see, pictures on social media, other parts of the country, man. They're already dealing with snow and that sort of stuff, man.
Wait, what?
Exactly.
What's that?
That stuff that we don't see.
I remember living in a place that had that stuff, but I can't quite remember.
I started to say that
like.
Powdered white stuff that falls from the sky, but that could mean something totally different here in Vegas, man.
That's right. You never know. You never know what.
No, the only thing cold here today in Las Vegas is the cold brews from Latchkey Brewing. Our man Anthony Beach has hooked it up again this week. Latchkey Brewing, 1795 Hancock Street in San Diego, California, or latchkeybrew.com. If you're in the San Diego area, make sure you stop by and pick up some of their frosty beverages, or check it out in some of your favorite dining establishments out there in the San Diego area. Or if you just want to reach out to the big homie Anthony Beach, he's on Instagram, instagram.com, anthony.m.beach. And right now we're starting out with the keeping it light to start out with to match the beautiful weather outside. It is the Fest beer? Is that how you say it? Regaler Fest beer.
Fest beer.
It feels like it should have like kind of a German, kind of a like Fest. I don't know. That was
yeah. Fest beer.
The Fest beer is a slow brewed lager made from organic craft malt from Admiral Malting in California, featuring Cashmere, Citra, and Simcoe.
Huh.
It's nice.
Doesn't sound anything Germanish at all when you think about those ingredients, except for the name. I thought you were going to say, oh, it's like a Kolsch or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it is tasty. But, yeah, it's a nice little
yeah.
We call it a sort of Pilsner.
There you go.
But,
keeping it light to start out.
Yeah, no, this is nice.
I dig it. All right. Well, speaking of keeping it light and then going the exact opposite direction, or maybe not, the big news today, Nate Diaz has walked away from MMA. He is done.
Really?
He said he took to social media and he said, and I quote, "Fuck a rematch. This shit was over before it started." Oh, were you able to collect the audio this week? I know sometime last week you were going to reach out to him.
I meant to, and I did not.
No? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, I know that you've been talking to him and trying to do some things. Okay.
It's weird. All the audio just sounds like... That's it.
That's a good start right there.
It is. I thought I'd get an answer after that, but that's all I got. Just the
fair enough. The WhatsApp message you had, it was just a bunch of that over and over. All right. Well, he did take to social media. All you youngins, cover your ears here because he says, "Fuck a rematch. This shit was over before it started. I'm going out on tour. Peace out, fight game." He posted that on Instagram and Twitter as well. We, of course, have a story on MMA Junkie. And by the way, shout out to Farah Hanoun over there in Cairo, Egypt, because she was up early this morning and wrote that story. And she had a phenomenal photo choice, man. She picked the photo of him at the press conference outdoor, throwing up 2 peace signs in the air, like hitting deuces. I'm like, well done, Farah. Well done.
Yeah.
But all right, listen. Nate Diaz, I feel like I spent last week almost apologizing for not understanding the greatness, for not respecting, for not giving him his due, for being the savant that he is, the entertainer extraordinaire that he is. I felt like I had been wrong all these years about Nate Diaz.
You were.
And now here he is just saying, I'm out, I'm done.
Do you think, and I keep going back and forth in my head, did he really mean on tour, or did he mean to say, like, on top?
Ooh.
Like, is he going on Dead Tour or something? Well, I think he missed that one. He's a little late for that one.
Maybe that was a little typo.
Even though the Dead is still kind of going on. There's some members still going around with John Mayer, so maybe he's going to go watch them.
Maybe it did mean I'm going out on top. I just took it to mean he's going and just going to go see the country and smoke his weed and do what he wants to do. And
I guess. I mean, but then we have to. He better come up with a cool name, like the the Nick Diaz Army Tour or something. I mean, I don't know.
Gotta have like a tour T-shirt put together.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was a matter of like. I immediately read it and thought like, oh, his phone must have autocorrected and he meant to say I'm going out on top or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he did. Maybe he is going to go out on tour. It's just a funny way of saying I'm just going to go fuck around. But now it's like, okay, well, where's the tour going? Where can people see the Diaz? Unless maybe he's promoting CBD on tour or something.
You finally run out of brilliance. You had a good week run of brilliance, and then now now it's just weird observations.
Well, I mean, that's a part of brilliance is noticing the slight differences in the universe, and I don't know. All right, maybe he is going on tour, but I mean, that strike anybody else?
That's
as
true.
Weird?
Going out on top would make more sense. Like you said, although is he going out on top if he just lost?
But he's still at the top of the game.
Oh, that's true.
Still getting big tickets.
Yep.
But I don't know.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden, headlining, BMF belt that you basically created. Yeah, you're right. That is kind of basically out on top.
I don't know.
All right, well, what we do know now is that Nate Diaz's phone autocorrects top to tour. We have determined that. I believe cold coffee here.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know what that was. That was terrible. All right, but here's what I'm getting at, I guess. This, to me, is the exact reason why I used to get frustrated with Nate Diaz. I mean, it's just, it's hard to get anything going because then it's this, well, now you start talking about possibilities, and do you even include him in possibilities for matchups? We're always thinking, who's next? What's next? Yeah. What's the next big fight? What can we do? And when he does stuff like this, I'll be honest, it sours me a little bit because now I'm like, well, I can't even really talk about him in any foreseeable scenarios. We can't talk about him in the rankings. We can't talk about him in, where, who, because you don't even know if he's technically eligible to compete, so to speak. You know what I mean? So this to me is maddening, and I understand why the Diaz brothers fans are so loyal. I understand why. I mean, I saw it full display. Not like it's the first time I've seen it, but last week was such a great reminder of what a star he is and how when he's present and when he's around, he's magnetic. He puts on great fights, even if it's not necessarily in victory. He makes things fun, but then he does this, and I don't find this fun at all.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, I think, you're right. I think it became to immediate matchups, and at this point where it's like, all right, well, we need to remove him from the discussion. That I agree, because if a person's saying he's retired, then okay, I'm going to stop putting, your name immediately in there. I mean, I think we could always still put it in there for wish lists,
right?
Dream matchups we'd like to see. I mean, I think that stuff can always fit. If somebody's like, in all likelihood, they said, oh, man, that next fight of McGregor, that's about as much fantasy as somebody coming back from retirement. At this point, I think those are those fights. If McGregor did come back, who I'd like to see.
Right.
Diaz still fits the bill as well as. I mean, just for the fact of at that point we're still talking about wishing, and hoping something happens. When it comes to rankings and things of that sort, I mean, we still got McGregor still up in the rankings. But most people would actively say he's not an active fighter by any means, but we still got him in there. So I think we could still keep him at least in the rankings, at least until it gets to the point that we know that it sticks or whatever. But again, this is just one statement that he said. I mean, it could just be immediate gut reaction. I think there is something to the idea that if he feels that this cut over his face is not going to ever allow him to fight how he wants to going forward, I could see where he's like, all right, I'm just gonna call it a day instead of just go through this bull crap again and get into a big ticket fight just to have it happen again.
I hate to think that. I would think it's negotiation tactics, right? It's negotiation.
It could be, but I mean, I think you already have I mean, people already want the rematch, so it's not like him pulling out is going to make them want it more because they think that, oh, it's not going to happen now. So maybe if you pay him just a little bit more money, he'll change his ways.
So you put some stock in this and believing this could be true? Because I
think it could be.
I came in here ready to say we all know this is garbage. This is a negotiation tactic.
I mean, it's good. I can see where he walks away for a while until it gets to the point again of just letting him pick what he wants. And I think at this point, probably, I'm not saying that he's afraid of Masvidal, but I think he probably realizes that fight probably will end that same way again. And maybe he got the amount of money that he wanted, and that was fine. But what he wants now is even bigger money for more fights. You know, maybe even if he's faced with the fact of, now I'm at a point where my body, because just like he said, you know, you sneeze on him and he bleeds. Now he's got to realize that any fight he gets into, there's the possibility that it could be stopped regardless.
Right.
So might as well, if you're going to come back in and fight, make it be a fight with maybe the contract's more rock solid. Maybe you're getting more money for it. Maybe make it to a fight where he doesn't think that it'll get cut like that. You know, maybe he thinks, hey, I can go in there and fight
Damian Maia?
Well, there you go. You know, or he's certainly not going to get the money that he would get fighting Masvidal again. But maybe even the matter of, you know, he maybe he doesn't think Conor will cut him. You know, Conor did cut him that last one, so I think he realized that too. But the amount of money is going to be more than what it is if he goes back in there and fights Masvidal.
It would be nice to hear if he was going away to get that procedure. You know, it's funny. I never hear much about that procedure anymore. I know Nick got it done. I remember Marcus Davis got it done way back in the day. You remember Marcus used to have that same thing where he just cut up right away.
That was early on in their careers, though.
I was going to say, I never hear people talking about that procedure anymore. I wonder if it's even a thing anymore. I mean, I don't remember the exact nature. I remember they go in and kind of like scrape the bones or something.
And I don't even think it's a guarantee that it won't. It's not like it guarantees that it won't happen again. It maybe makes it a little less likely that scar tissue's not there, so maybe it won't open up. But then again, I'd imagine you have to give it a long time to make sure that it properly heals after the fact. I don't know. I just see it as he got in there, he made a nice amount of more money, you know, for his seed money to keep his other businesses and things going on. He was perfectly fine walking away from this fight, so he realized that his money wasn't an issue to where he's like, I have to fight. He's like, I want to fight.
Remember,
he
said that to us on Fight Week, right? He said, I don't have to fight.
I don't have to fight.
I don't have to fight.
You know, so he went ahead and fought, and I guarantee. So I mean, I can only imagine he got another $2 or $3 million after it's all said and done with pay-per-view points.
Easy.
So he's doing okay. So I could see where if he has to walk away for another year or whatever, he can, because I think he could still pick that nice fight that he wants to make money. Because let's be real, he's not trying to get the belt. He's trying to get fights that make sense for him, that keep him happy and that keeps his fans happy, and it's going to make his wallet happy.
Right.
I think that could still happen, whether it be a year or 2 years from now, as long as both participants are fine and as long as there's a market. So if he says he's retiring, could be. Maybe it is. But do I think it'll be forever? Probably not, because I think he's still at an age and he's still at a fitness level that he could literally probably walk away for a year or two. And maybe that just means you saw to fuck off. Don't bug me. But when I decide to come back in, I'll hop back in the pool 6 months out.
Right.
You know, we'll be good to go. But at least by making that statement, they could take him off the checklist right now.
It's funny because the fight that I probably do want to see the most right now involving Nate Diaz, to me, is the Conor trilogy.
Yeah, that's it. It's the only fight I can really think of that I want to see.
It's really the fight that I want to see. But knowing that it sounds like Conor's going to fight January 18th, that would probably seem a little early. Like that timeline doesn't work.
That's not going to be Nate.
No, he's got. Number one, that would be 3 fights in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to want to do that. 3 fights in 5 months, I think, even.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not going to want to do that. And
second, what was the medical suspension? It had to be at least 30, 60 days.
Oh yeah, so that he'd be close to that too.
Yeah, he'd be pushing it for that.
Right. I didn't even think about that. And then on top of that, I was going to say, even without a medical suspension, like you can just tell. Say what you will about whether the cut deserved to stop the fight or not.
Yeah,
that was a nasty cut, man. That needs some
really
time.
It was
to
really
heal,
bad.
man. Or, like you said, it's just going to bust right open again. So, January isn't logical. And I guess maybe knowing, maybe it will be a year. Maybe it will be a year. Maybe
I imagine.
I mean, that's how long a tour normally takes, right?
Right. I mean, it just depends on where the tour is going. I mean, is he doing a, Middle Eastern tour? Maybe it's a USO tour? Boy, wouldn't that be awesome? I would love if he did like a USO tour, because I guarantee the troops
fucking
love Nate Diaz coming around, especially if he brought Nick. Dude, USO, I know you're listening to this because you're a big
Always.
fan of our show. Hit up the fucking Diaz boys because I think the troops would absolutely eat that shit up.
I'll tell you what's funny.
That would be awesome.
When I saw this post on Twitter, you know how like your Twitter follower. I mean, I only follow like UFC people or MMA people, you know. But it's funny, you know how it'll show you like a post and it'll show you people that have liked it or whatever.
Yeah.
The two people that it showed me on my particular Twitter feed were liked by Jorge Masvidal and Abe Kawa. That was funny because, you know, I mean, Masvidal, rightfully so, I think, you know, he would run it back. But I think in the days since, I think I've come to adopt the same philosophy that Dana White has, that I don't think an immediate rematch is necessarily needed. It may be an immediate rematch for Nate Diaz, but Nate's going to need some time off, and I think Dana probably foresaw that there was going to be some time off, and Masvidal's going to have some other things in between. So, you know, maybe they do run it back a year from now, 2 years from now, and I'd totally be okay with that.
Masvidal already said the belt's not going anywhere. So at this point, it's literally just a for pride fight.
Yeah.
And Nate's, I mean, if the money doesn't make sense for him, I'm sure he was happy because he got what he wanted, but I just don't see it. It gave him an extra little something that he could hang on the mountain that he would always be able to talk shit to people over. Now it's just another fight.
I like that Masvidal took the right approach too, because he's right, dude. Like that belt is one of one, and I love that that's his answer because people are gonna try to goad him into it, right? Like, oh, if you're the BMF champion, put your belt on the line. He's like, bro, it says 1 of 1, man. You know, like I'm just gonna because that thing is gonna be. I mean, if it's going to be worth money someday, right? Like 1 of 1. I mean, that's a unique piece of MMA history, man.
And the fact that he said Dana said that was the most expensive belt that they've made,
$50,000,
which is crazy because I'm like, it looks cool, but when I see some of the other ones, I'm just like, how much do those cost? You know,
it had black diamonds. I don't know what black diamonds are.
I don't know either. I mean, is that a new grade of blood diamonds or something? They're like the worst kind of blood diamonds or something.
That's terrible.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't look at it close up, so I'm not sure what they.
That was cool though. Like. I will say I liked it. I did like the belt. I will not be ordering. Did you see that they have it in the store now? You can buy a replica of it for like $850.
They had that right after they finished it, and they're like, "You order your replica now." I was like, "You cheesy motherfuckers, you cheesy motherfuckers! You just talking about how it's the 1 of 1, but now you too can have a BMF belt, you know, minus the black diamonds." I don't know. I was like,
dude, how funny would it be for Colby Covington to order one of those bad boys?
Oh, he's going to
show up to 245 with it and just be like, I saw Jorge walking down the streets and I took it off of him or something.
Oh, God.
Oh man, that would be hilarious. All right, well, listen. Speaking of the Diaz brothers, I did want to say a cool thing that I actually posted up on MMA Junkie today, but the UFC came up with this thing. I met with them yesterday. I went over to the office and I was talking to them. The UFC Fight Pass 500. I didn't know this was a thing. So their editorial team got together and they picked out 500 moments through history of things that have happened over 26 years. In the cage, out of the cage, some fun moments. They put together this list of just like 500, of the most memorable moments in UFC history. It's a fun list to check out and just kind of take a trip down memory lane. But they were kind enough to share some video with us as well. And they're going to keep doing that. These things are going to get released like a few at a time, basically over the next 7 weeks or so. I think like 80 at a time. But the first one they gave us was Nick Diaz's Stockton slap of Robbie Lawler way back at UFC 47. So it was kind of cool. They actually shared. We've actually got licensed UFC highlight footage up on MMA Junkie. You can kind of relive that moment of the Stockton slap. The introduction of the Stockton slap. So.
Buy your replica Stockton slap for just $9.99 on UFC Fight Bitch.
By the way, they made it They made it item number 420. By the way, out of the 500, it was moment number 420.
Of course they did. I know. Just to topically say it, and I'm not sure if you were going to bring it up or not, but I did want to. Say that earlier today when we
did we go over it in the format meeting?
Not yet.
Okay.
Was on your notes to talk about the update on Walt Harris's stepdaughter?
Yeah, it was. To be honest with you, I mean, it brings things down. To be honest with you, but I mean, I guess I mean, what I just wanted to say was, pray to whoever you pray to, man. Whatever your belief is in this world, and this energy, and this whatever. pray, man, because 19-year-old stepdaughter. You've probably seen the story by now. Missing for 2 weeks at this point. And earlier today, an arrest warrant was issued for a guy named Ibrahim Yazid, who, according to the Auburn police, quote, is currently out on bond for the charges of kidnapping and attempted murder from another jurisdiction. He should be considered dangerous and potentially armed. That obviously, I mean,
It's
I hate
not
to
a good
say
thing
it,
to hear.
it doesn't
It's
bode well. It doesn't
yeah.
bode well. I mean, it's you pray that yes, there was some kind of kidnapping and that she's being held somewhere. And as awful as that reality is, that's
the best case scenario.
That's the best case scenario, and so it's awful. But I mean, it makes me sick. Is currently out on bond for the charges of kidnapping and attempted murder. I understand that we're innocent until proven guilty in this country, and I understand that everybody has right to a trial and all those things. And I'm not saying that if you're charged with, I don't even know what I'm saying, because this is so complicated that you can't make some kind of blanket statement. I understand that you just because somebody charges you with something, you shouldn't necessarily just be locked away. That's not what our country was built on. But to hear that somebody is out on bond for the charges of kidnapping and attempted murder, and now is potentially involved in another kidnapping and whatever else, we'll pray not the second half of that. It's just disgusting, man. It's disgusting.
It is, and I hope that, as much I know. I'm glad that everybody out there, I'm glad that the reward has been jumping up quite a bit, because I a lot of times in these situations, there are some people out there who would rather keep their mouths shut and get involved in things, and this is one of those cases, and you don't want it to be in any particular case, actually. You just want people to, if you see something, say something, and I hope for the best that there is a happy ending to this story. Every day it goes further on. It seems less likely, but, you don't want that to be true, and you don't want the world to always be like that. We need some more happy endings and happy stories, and I hope that something works out. But I'm glad that they at least they're starting to find clues. They're starting to find things. They're starting to get to more facts. That had to be the most worst part, was just not knowing anything, no leads or anything, and. But it certainly wasn't good when you found the person that's the person of interest, has had a history of attempted kidnapping and that sort of thing. I mean, makes you mad.
Knowing what happens, and I mean, understanding all the facts, and I don't want to say closure, because we have hopes that she's still alive and that she'll be found that way, But obviously, having the knowledge of everything that happens, it at least allows you to try and move forward. But I can tell you, as a parent. And I know this is his stepdaughter, but that's no less of a bond, man. I mean, that's still your child, and he spent many, many years with her and helping to raise her, and gives a lot of credit to his wife for his success as an athlete. He's always been really open about how much she has believed in him, and she has supported him, and she has helped him through the hard times, because Walt has had some hard times. He's such a good dude, man. We've had so many good interactions with him over the years. He's such a personable guy, and he's dealt with these setbacks along the way and his self-doubt and all these things, and built himself through it, man. I think of, the last time, we got to interview him up in Boston briefly, but the last time I saw him on a fight week, in San Antonio, and he shows up at the post-fight, not press conference, but the media room. He's got like the coonskin cap on from Davy Crockett, cutting jokes. He's making like Davy Crockett jokes and stuff, just trying to tie himself into the community. I mean, the guy is he's funny. He's got great energy, and man, something happened to your kid, man. I know you're not a parent, Cole Coffey, but dude, you just can't imagine, man, and just heart goes out for him, man. So if you want to read up on it, we've got all the details up at MMA Junkie. We've kind of Simon Simano actually put together kind of a timeline so you can kind of keep up to date, and that way we can just keep updating, keep the information out there. We've been trying. That's one of the things is we felt is every development. Let's keep the information out there. Let's keep. The development's going. So, like you said, if you see something, say something. If people,
especially
can be
all you
aware.
Alabama folks,
I'm
not sure if we have a large listening population in Alabama. If not, you should. Even though, fuck you and your SEC dynasty team. But in all seriousness, keep an eye out, keep a lookout. This is in your neck of the woods. Do all that shit, be aware, and if you see something that seems out of place, you know, notify somebody. But yeah, fingers crossed. And didn't mean to bring it down, but I happened to notice that, and I wasn't quite sure if we are going to talk about it because I missed the format meeting. But we did want to say something.
The extensive production meeting we had earlier today with the entire crew that we noticed you weren't at. The crew was.
I was out manicuring the backyard. That's why you still see the pile of leaves that have been over there for about 3 months now.
Well, that was the assumption of the entire staff as we discussed, how the thing was going to go. But yeah, just man, my heart goes out. I like I said, I don't, whether you're religious or not, whatever your belief is in the world, man, try to put some kind of positive energy in the universe, because 2 weeks, man, it's scary. It's scary. Yeah, there is no way to move on from that. But I did want to touch on another thing that kind of came out today, and that was, and by the way, another article by Farah Hanoun that she put together. She does a great job for us, man. So happy to have her on the team. But that was Diego Sanchez taking dead aim at Darren Till. And I thought this was incredibly interesting for a couple reasons. Basically, our headline on the site is Diego Sanchez blasts Darren Till for saying every fighter questions himself heading into a fight. Now, of course, Darren Till, you remember, after Darren Till?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, after UFC 244, he did come back in the press room and was like, "Listen, man, I was thinking of injuries I could come up with, so I didn't have to go out there. I was feeling this fear, and a lot of respect for him for having that honesty." Diego Sanchez took to Instagram. He was actually replying to a post by a mixed martial arts reporter by the name of Ariel Hawani. Not sure if everybody's familiar with him or not, but he was responding to this gentleman's post. And what he said was, every fighter, this be some number one bullshit. Maybe he is coming from some money or something. All the work, decades to finally get some real money. Fake an injury. I'm sorry, Ariel, but don't butter Till up like. Well, this gets a little rough here. This is cool to get a good interview. Anyway, he goes on. He just says, bottom line is, I can't relate to this weak-ass shit. I found this interesting. And, to me, I want to be clear that I think this is a really just an indication of who Diego Sanchez is as a person. Diego Sanchez is probably the one person that I would think doesn't have nerves and doesn't have fear. But he is an incredibly unique individual, and I respect him for this. I love Diego Sanchez, man. I've made that clear over the years. I think he's a legend, man, and I love him as a person, and I love him as a fighter. And I can understand what he's saying here, but I was a little surprised to see him come out and attack Darren Till. Now, I guess it goes to show you that in society, anytime you say everybody this or nobody this, if there's one person that is the exception to the rule, then you may be offending that person. And if Diego Sanchez took personal offense to this by saying, hey, man, if you're telling me I'm scared, no, I'm never scared, that doesn't happen to me, then I guess he had the right to say that. But I don't know. I took it a little weird to put Till on blast, because I too really respected the honesty that Darren Till came with. And I just feel like you and I have spoken with enough fighters over the years to know that sentiment of that fear is it's not a rare thing. It is.
Yeah.
It's more common than not. Maybe there are some people like Diego Sanchez who is one incredibly unique individual, but I think it's probably 99% of people.
At least to some degree, I think fear comes in there, and maybe some of them phrase it differently, whether it be the nerves or going in there. And I swear, if we'd go back and probably listen to some of Diego's, he'd probably voice the same thinking, but maybe in not so many words. So maybe the way he took it to say, because I swear he's even said sometimes that he's, gone in there, maybe not being afraid, but having the doubts every time going in there or whatever. I'm sure every fighter at some point has said that you go in there with a little doubt, you go in there with some sort of nervousness, that you then turn that energy around and you keep, you use it to fuel you, But I don't know. He probably just caught Diego on a bad day. Maybe somebody interrupted his yoga session earlier in the day and he was a little pissy. But I mean, I don't. It's kind of just out of left field to see him jumping on what Till said,
Who?
on Dead and Tim on his comments. It's kind of weird, It's just like, wow, haven't heard from you in a while, and all of a sudden like this. But this is also a guy, man, that's lashed out on his own team recently, and he just leaves your head scratching. So I don't know. I kind of wonder where Diego's headspace is right now, and why he would choose this particular thing to kind of jump out and say, and then reading it and trying to get like Platinum Perry to jump in like they're gonna have a high five moment. Yeah, you're right, man. That's some pushy shit, or whatever. I don't know. One fighter that I know we respect and love a lot is Cowboy Cerrone, and hearing him describe it, and then you go in there and see it, and I think anybody would be absolutely ridiculous to think that that's a guy that is faking shit or is just whatever from money or whatever, and that it's pussy shit, I don't know. It's just weird that Diego would, even feel so strongly that he would need to come out.
It struck me as weird, and I guess, had it been something where he was trying to declare something about himself, I think I would have accepted that a little bit more, because I do believe he's special and he's different. And I think if he would have been declaring something about himself, but I felt like he was trying to put down Till. And yes, Cowboy Cerrone is the one that came straight to my mind. But this actually, it ended up being perfect. Michael Bisping, another guy who I don't know how you would ever question his heart, question his toughness, question his durability. He was actually talking about the exact same thing on his podcast this week. Believe You Me is the name of the podcast. I'm certainly, if you're familiar with this, you're probably familiar with that as well. It's a great podcast, man. Michael Bisping has become a great television and podcasting personality, in addition to being a great fighter as well. But he addressed it as well and talked about his own experiences. And I took just a short little clip from it because I thought I thought he said it perfectly. And again, this is somebody that's not just talking about recounting other experiences, other people's experiences. This is him talking about his own experiences, and I thought it just hit the nail on the head. So I really wanted to share this little clip from Michael Bisping.
What Darren said there, and this is you got to respect the honesty from him. What Darren said there. And I'm going to guess is probably something that a lot of fighters have. Before a fight, when you're backstage in the locker room, that's the most nerve-wracking time, And I'm not saying that everybody thinks, oh, should I fake an injury? What I'm saying is at that time, people start having these negative thoughts. The negativity creeps in, the doubt creeps in, all that you've heard from, online sources, from media, from haters, from critics, that starts... you start to gravitate towards that because it's a high-pressure situation. I remember every time I would fight, I'd be in my locker room. I remember being backstage, and more often than not, I would always say to my coach, I'd turn around to Perillo, I'd be like, why the fuck do I do this? Why do I do this? Because you're going to go out there, you're going to fight a trained killer in front of the world. It's an intimidating thing to do in front of the world, in the crowd and all the rest of it. But of course, you go out there, you get a good win or whatever. Or even if you lose, you can't wait to do it again. The thrill is massive. Of course, it's very risky. It's very dangerous. It's a tough situation. But because of that, it makes it so much better. If you do get a win, or if you have a good experience, if you have a good fight, and it's a rush, it's a thrill, and it's how we get paid, and it's an amazing thing to do. So of course, everybody has those situations, those thoughts. Like Tito Ortiz used to always say, and he probably does, he would cry in the locker room before every fight. Now, I'm not that kind of pussy. I wouldn't cry, you know what I mean? Because I'm a tough guy. But you do have that kind of negativity creep in. So I respect Darren for opening up and talking about that. But I don't think that's an exclusive thing.
All right. So again, that was Michael Bisping from his podcast, Believe You Me. Appreciate him letting us share that little clip there. And bottom line is, if Michael Bisping and Cowboy Cerrone, two of the most experienced fighters in the history of the UFC, two of the most successful fighters in the history of the UFC, if they say that, they've got concerns and they have these fears and they have to deal with these mental demons going in, then that's all right with me, by God. God bless you, Diego Sanchez. I love you too. But I think what I wanted to establish here is that Diego is the exception, not the rule. And while I believe that he's being sincere, I think we should realize that he is a one-of-a-kind individual.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to explain too much about that.
Yeah. Maybe he just got triggered by the fact that he was like, that he said that he was trying to fake an injury, and like that just crossed the line. That while nerves and whatever is an issue, that the fact that somebody could go in there and never possibly think about faking or throwing a fight would go against everything that he stood for. So maybe that triggered him or whatever. But
that's fair. And you know what? I don't think that's fair to grab onto that. To me, I mean, I guess he did say I was thinking about faking an injury, but I guess in my head, I felt like that was just his kind of, Darren Till's way of saying, I just didn't want to go out there, man. You know what I mean? It was like the nerves were so bad. You're just like, how can I get out of this? You know what I mean? And you come up with something crazy like the dog ate my homework, or you know what I mean? Like you're not actually thinking of that. You're just, like don't key in on that so much.
Yeah, and that could be what it is. But yeah, I mean, because it is quite extreme. I mean, I think this is also probably one of those first times you've ever heard a fighter maybe vocalize those actual statements. Even though a lot of people have probably thought a lot of fighters have went out there and faked stuff, to hear somebody actually do it. But let's remember, this is a guy that went in and actually fought and performed, but just was vocalizing the doubts and saying these possible thoughts that were going through his head.
And hell, he didn't need to fake an injury. He actually had an injury.
Yeah.
So
whatever.
How about that?
But it's just weird. It's just weird that,
How about just admitting your knee's bad?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. I think I've said enough. All right, listen, I should say, by the way, if you like what you listen to, make sure you sign into Apple Podcasts now on the new version. Make sure you give us a like if you can. We're a 5-star podcast, man. We got 5-star reviews.
That hurts you to say podcast, don't you? You're just so used to saying iTunes. Log into iTunes.
I know. Log into iTunes. I'm not used to the Apple Podcast. In fact, the music still has the same logo, so I end up clicking on the Apple Music, actually wanting the podcast. So anyway, but leave a review, man. Make sure you leave a review. We got 5 stars, so make sure you can be the latest to leave us 5 stars. If you can leave some feedback, I always like that feedback, positive or negative.
Yeah.
Hopefully
if
positive.
You can find a way to leave 6 stars to balance out all the 4 stars.
There's not very many. There's only a couple. We're mostly 5 stars, and I value that.
Whoa.
But if you can do that, that helps us grow the podcast a little bit. And of course, just tell people that would be great as well. Leave some feedback. Now, if you want to take it up to the next level, if you want to really go, then you go to patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. You join up there. You help us out. Help fund the podcast. Just a couple bucks a month is all we're asking. You can join at various little levels of your commitment based on your enjoyment. But I'm not the biggest fan of sticking my hand out and saying please. But it really does help us a lot. There are costs involved with this. We don't make money on this podcast. I'll tell you that. And I'm not even talking about our.
We don't.
Why
are we doing it?
It's a labor of love, to say the least. I'm not even talking about like our labor time. Like if we were somehow to have labor time for this. Now I'm just talking about things like the equipment that we use, that we pay for to do it, the hosting, all the things that Cold Coffee deals with and has to give me invoices for it because I have no idea what happens on the technical side of things. All those stuff, we have to pay money for it. So yeah, if you can help us out, it does help us quite a bit.
Yes. And there's a couple. I'm sorry if I can't go back and find everybody that's jumped back in there, but David Elmore, thank you. He's one of the recent addies. Anders Due Holtberg. Anders Holtberg. Holtberg.
Yep.
He would probably appreciate that Germanish beer that we're drinking right now. But yeah, thank you for the new jumpers on there. So all this begging and pleading is starting to pay off. A couple extra people. So thank you for jumping in, and we appreciate you guys.
No doubt. By the way, should say shout out to the big homie Anthony Beaches. We had now switched over to the Latchkey Brewing. It's my jam. It's my jam. A Berliner Kettle Sour featuring black currant. Black currant? Black currant. Currant?
Currant.
Is it? It's not current like current news.
That's how I think how you pronounce it.
Right.
That's how I've always done
it. We not real fancy around here at the MMA Road. So normally when Latchkey Brewing doesn't come in, we're going straight PBR. But this is black. I'm gonna go with currant. You guys can tell me if I'm an idiot.
I've never heard anybody say, "Oh man, is that tones of currant in there?"
I've never heard anybody ask if it's tones of currant either. I've asked if it's curry, but those are two different things.
I think it's currant.
I'm going with currant and raspberry. It's fruited at 25 pounds per barrel. It's a tart jam in liquid form. Huge aromas of black currant, raspberry, and blackberries with a funky, dry tartness on the back of the palate. Currant?
The
Did you spell it right?
Currant.
Okay, you did. All right.
Listen. Current. That is the computer telling me current.
All right,
Yeah.
well.
That's the American pronunciation. Oh, there's a British one, too. Let's hear that one.
Current.
Current. You were saying it like a British person almost.
Exactly, except with the emphasis in the wrong place. Okay, I'd like to revise my review of the It's My Jam from Latchkey Brewing. It is a tart jam in liquid form. Huge aromas of black currant. All right, anyway.
Yeah. This is delicious.
It is good. I will say, the Deputy Steve was Morocco, who's now at MMA Fighting, was the first person to turn me on to a sour beer. I'd never had a sour beer until I was up in Portland visiting then MMA Junkies, now good. MMA Fighting's Steve Morocco. He turned me on to the sours, and I got to say, they're pretty good. And this is a Berliner Kettle sour.
Yeah, it's great when you like the switch, I like to think of them as like a palate cleansers. Like if you are going to sample a bunch of different beers, which we like to do when we go to places that have them, if you throw a sour one in there every once in a while, it literally just like it shocks your palate.
It does.
And it gives a nice little kick. But man, I could drink something like this on a nice sunny day, warm outside.
Like today?
Like today.
Like
I could drink these all fucking
I don't know
day.
how November 7th is in your neck of the woods, kids, but in Las Vegas, it's doing all right. It's doing all right.
These are tasty.
All right, listen, a lot of MMA this weekend. I won't go into what's happening on Friday. Again, we always sit down tape on Thursday nights. By the time most people listen, I think it's Friday morning. But One Championship 102 is bright and early Friday morning. Bellator 233 is Friday evening. Matt Erickson is out there in Thackerville, Oklahoma. Not necessarily the sexiest main event with John Salter and Costello Van Steenis, but you do have King Mo coming back. And I mean no disrespect to those guys. I mean, they're both great fighters. But it just, it's not a title fight. It's not necessarily a clear number one contender fight. It's just kind of a fight. But you do have King Mo coming back. A one and done, basically returning from retirement, wants to go out on a winning note. I watched the weigh-ins this morning. It's a 195 catchweight fight. I think he weighed 193, and after he weighed, he basically said, this is why, that's what I walked around at. Like I'm just been walking. So he looks thin, man. He looks like he's lost some weight. I don't know, maybe he's a little bit less weight training or whatever. That's what he looks good, but he said, listen, this is not a comeback. It's one and done. You got Leslie Smith in there. Of course, she's fighting for Bellator now. That always interesting to see her in there. And then there's a couple little names here on the prelims as well. You got Tyrell Fortune actually is on the main card, and then Tyree Fortune is on the prelims. Lucas Brennan, the son of Chris Brennan, old school. If you're an old school MMA fighter or old school MMA fan, I should say, you'll know that. Logan Storley is a stud, undefeated stud. Has had some fights that haven't been necessarily the most exciting. I think that's slowed his progress up the ranks, but Logan Storley is on the prelims. Jordan Young, another undefeated name on there on the prelims as well. Kyle Crutchmer is a name that a lot of people are excited about. So, look, Bellator continues to do a good job of stocking young talents, man. They take chances on people early. It's a system that they've been implementing for quite a while. It's hard to get those people to the next level, man. I mean, you look at how long it's taken, for instance, AJ McKee to really start clicking, and I think he's finally starting to click a little bit with people, but it just takes a long time. And then, of course, guys like MVP, it takes a while. And then people go, "Hey, man, why are you shielding them?" So it's tough, but they're doing it. I mean, at the very least, they are developing talent, and they are putting their own guys on. For the longest time, Bellator had the model, kind of like Strikeforce, basically just use a local promoter and book local people because it sells fights. And you need to do that. Yeah. It sells tickets. It is smart. It helps you sell tickets. But unfortunately, when you're just doing one-fight contracts with those local ticket sellers, you're not doing anything to actually build your roster. And Bellator now, it's not something maybe they talk about a whole lot or brag about a whole lot, but now their prelims are very rarely filled with local ticket sellers. Yes, they do have some from market to market. They've got people they know they can count on to sell tickets, but for a lot of the prelims, it's rostered people on there, and I think they deserve some credit. So I will say this: Bellator 233 card Friday night is not the sexiest fight card, the main event, the fight card overall, but I do think it is a nice example of kind of where Bellator is going and what they're doing. Then meanwhile, Saturday gets really, really busy, and it's crazy because it gets really, really busy early. So even if you're a hardcore, guy that likes to watch everything you can do that. You can watch damn near everything, and you can still have a Saturday night because the key events from Europe. You got Cage Warriors 110 on Fight Pass. You got KSW 51, which they air on their own website, KSW TV. I think they do Fight TV as well, if I remember right. But you got some interesting fights there. I mean, Mariusz Pudzianowski is in the main event over at KSW. I mean, look, they're not afraid to tell you, man. They put on freak shows, man. They have fun. They have fun fights, man. That's what they do. So they don't. I have not seen the Polish Anti-Doping Association getting anywhere near KSW.
Say, where's Pusat at?
Yeah, they definitely do not go there. You will see the most jacked dudes in your life, man. And look, the guys at KSW tell you, they say, listen, we were big fans of Pride, and we're trying to do Pride all over again, but our version of it, and that's what they do, man. They've got over the top entrances. They got big presentation. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
But they copy Pride so far down. They make sure there's no drug. Hey, there was no drug testing in Pride, so no drug testing there as well. Cage Warriors 110 will be on Fight Pass. Same thing with Cage Warriors. This is not their best effort. They have some bigger cards. But then, of course, the one that I think most of us will be watching, the one that will have our attention, UFC on ESPN Plus 21 from CSK Arena in Moscow, Russia. ESPN Plus for the entire card, and it is Zabit Magomedsharipov versus Calvin Kattar in the main event. And man, I am stoked for this fight. I guess a little bit bummed in the fact that we do get 3 rounds here, not 5 rounds. Of course, remember, this was going to be the co-main event. Alexander Volkov was in the main event. He was fighting Junior Dos Santos. Junior Dos Santos was forced out with a bacterial infection. And so Zabit versus Calvin was promoted to the main event, but it was only a few weeks out for a camp where they were already training for 3 rounds. So I think fair that you don't go, okay, well, now you guys in the main, you have to do 5.
Yeah.
I think this is fair, but I'm really, really excited about this fight. No question here, man. We've been high, or at least I shouldn't speak for both of us.
Many times.
No question there. But I shouldn't speak for you, I guess is what I'm saying. But I've been very high on Zabit Magomedsharipov for quite some time. I do feel like he is future championship quality type talent. Not he's good, he's fun to watch. No, I feel like he's a guy that can hold a belt at some point. And so I've been really, really high on him. But his career has progressed a little bit slower, I'll be honest, than I might have liked. For various reasons. He's only fighting a couple times a year. I think he could have fighting. I think he could have been busier, and I would have liked to see him progress a little faster.
Maybe if his manager didn't hold off interviews sometimes, that would probably help too.
Wow, I see what you're doing there. Meanwhile, Calvin Kattar, a guy that I think a lot of people, were excited about and were high on, did end up losing a decision to Renato Moicano. That was a setback, but has since bounced back with a couple of first-round wins, including beating Ricardo Lamas. Of course, he beat Shane Burgos, which, Shane Burgos has gone on to continue to do great things. So that win is looking better and better in retrospect. Man, I'm stoked for this fight. I'm intrigued by it, right, because this was supposed to be in Boston. The Zabit had to bow out of that, but they wanted to keep the matchup together. And Calvin said, oh, wait, this was supposed to be my backyard of Boston, but now you want me to go to his backyard of Russia? Hey, no problem. I'll do it. That's mad awesome. Respect for that. You know what I mean? So, I'm excited for this. I ended up picking Zabit. I was talking to Dan Tom. Dan Tom and I are starting to get back together for breakdowns again. We weren't able to do that for a while, but now we're starting to film those breakdowns that, of course, you're shooting as well. And as we got together to talk about it, we were kind of just shooting the shit offline. And we mentioned it a little bit on the video as well. But a point that he made, and I totally agree with, is that the fact that this is 3 rounds probably further makes me feel confident in that as a beat pick. If it was a 5-round fight, I'm not sure, because I feel like we've seen him fade in 3-round fights, and having not seen him go 5 rounds, I would have been a little bit scared. But knowing that he doesn't have to travel as far, knowing that he doesn't have to fight 5 rounds, I think I feel pretty good about the Zabit pick. But Calvin Kattar is dangerous as it gets.
Yeah, Calvin is really, really dangerous, and he does have some good wins. But also, you look at Zabit, man, his last win over Jeremy Stevens, who is also a beast, and who has energy for days. That was a tough decision victory, but still, just with the range and the length of Zabit, just looking at him, he's really big for this weight class, and I think it's hard to kind of just seeing him. he's proven himself. He's just hard to pick against. But if there was a guy that I feel pretty confident that's going to give him a good run for his money, Calvin Kattar for sure is going to be that guy. But I just think in the tools that he has, I think just Zabit has more tools.
Yeah.
And part of it's just that range. If he's able to keep a distance and do some work,
God,
do some damage until he gets in there and grabs him, gets him in the clinch, then it's bad news, man.
He's so Zabit is so fluid and smooth on the feet.
It's pretty ridiculous watching because when you look at him, and maybe it's because of the part too that, since we don't speak the same language, we don't get a chance to feel the swagger when he talks. But I think if we probably heard the swagger, it would probably identify better with the way that he actually fights. Because when you watch him, he's very, very smooth when he flows from the different positions and different transitions and things, and he's just tough. I can't remember the last time I picked against him. I maybe picked against him early on when he first started fighting the UFC, and since then I don't really pick against him.
I don't know how you do.
He is tough, but Kattar, man, he's a good dude. But I like your reasoning too that if it got to the fight, because we have seen Zabit tire out because he is a very go forward sort of fighter that 3 rounds really plays into his favor. So it's hard to think of him losing a 3-round fight.
I think I'd have a lot more questions if it was 5 rounds, man. I really, because I think Kattar's cardio is better, and it kind of makes me think. That's going to be what it's going to take to beat Zabit. Is once he gets in these these featured fights, these number 1 contender fights, these title fights, is taking him deep and beating him late, basically.
But once he starts getting that experience, then it's going to be hard for us to say that anymore. Because once he starts getting the experience and realizing that he can do it and learning how much energy he needs to sort of control and work his style, then we won't be able to say that.
Yeah, once you start to answer the questions, right?
Yeah, then you're like, okay, never mind. But I like your reasoning that if there was a guy that probably stands to be a possible future champ, Zabit, I think he fits the bill. At least right now.
I do too.
Kattar could come in there and starch him, and maybe he starts a huge downward spiral. But I just don't see it right now. But Kattar does have some serious power in his hands. He is quick, so if he can keep movement and keep the beat missing, if he can find a way to tire him out, just stay on his fucking bike, man, and just keep the distance. Find his ways to get in there and do some damage. See if he can tire him out. He's got a good chance.
I'm intrigued, man. By the way, this main card. If you're just going to watch the main card, it starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, so 11 a.m. our time. So, look, this will be kind of lunchtime, early afternoon for the main event for the featured fights. I
think
watch
college football and fights.
Gotta love that, right?
Wow, that's nice.
The co-main event, Greg Hardy versus Alexander Volkov. Now, this is crazy. This is crazy to me. Alexander Volkov, as we said, was supposed to fight Junior Dos Santos. Instead, Greg Hardy, who fought in Boston.
Feels like he fought like 2 weeks ago.
I know, right? It was what, a month ago at this point? It was 3 weeks ago. Now he's back. Of course, that was that no contest. The no contest due to the inhaler. It's a crazy situation. The guy was. The guy asked about it
after the fact.
That's right.
So he still won the fight.
He won the fight.
He won the fight. It was overturned. So he put on a full fight. It wasn't like something happened and he wasn't able to fight.
That's right.
It was a decently tough fight for him.
I thought listen, Ben Sosoli, not a world beater by any stretch of the imagination. Ben Sosoli is not Alexander Volkov. In fact, he's probably the exact opposite of Alexander Volkov. He's, Ben Sosoli, kind of a short, squatty guy. Alexander Volkov, a huge
extremely
monster.
Tall,
a big dude.
Super long guy.
Yeah.
This is the guy that was,
an inexperienced guy versus an incredibly experienced guy.
And the guy that literally took Derek Lewis, was beating Derek Lewis pretty handily until the last second of a fight. That's
was a tick of the clock away from winning.
So that goes when you're looking at, because I think a lot of people want to see Hardy fight Lewis, but I think a lot of people are thinking like Lewis is going to be the guy that will that it would be a good fight to see, that there's going to be a lot of hands thrown. This is the guy that was handily beating Derek, and that pains me because as much as we love Derek, Alexander was putting it on
clearly.
So I just don't seeing how hard of a time Hardy had with Sosoli. No offense to Ben, but
it's just a different caliber of fighter.
Night and day, different fighters. Alexander, I think he's going to probably, hopefully, I would think,
I mean, if Ben Sosley had stepped in to fight Alexander Volkov, would we be sitting here going, this is so competitive, oh my God, I just can't pick? Again, no disrespect, but that's just reality.
Yeah, I mean, Hardy does have a lot of power. He has a lot of quickness, but a lot of that is early on in a fight. We know that Volkov can take it all 3 rounds. This is by far the hardest challenge, the toughest challenge that Greg Hardy has ever faced. And if there's ever going to be a fight that somebody's really going to show whether a guy is a newcomer to the sport, this is going to be that fight.
It's here's what's intriguing me about this is because, I was told behind the scenes that Greg Hardy insisted on this, like volunteered, raised his hand, insisted on it. And I 100% believe that to be true, not just because of the people that told it to me, but because, listen, we know how much buzz Greg Hardy creates, positive or negative. We know how much buzz he creates. There is no way that the UFC saw him right away and said, let's put him in here on this fight card in Russia that's not going to get any media coverage, that's not going to get any media attention because nobody's traveling over there, that's going to take place on a Saturday afternoon, as you said, during the middle of college football season, when college football season is really heating up, right? I mean,
they just had the first college football playoff rankings coming out, shit's starting to get real in the air.
If the UFC was booking this fight, it wouldn't be Greg Hardy. I mean, because this could potentially ruin Greg Hardy. And I will say, and ruin is a strong word, but I'll say this: I was editing.
It'll definitely it could dampen his shine.
Well,
sure,
listen,
if there is shine.
I was editing Dave Doyle's 5 questions piece for MMA Junkie, which comes out tomorrow, and he actually his 5 burning questions actually leads with this fight. Doesn't even lead with the main event. Leads with the co-main event, and his premise is that most people are only going to want to tune into this card for one reason, and that is to see will Greg Hardy finally get his ass kicked, and I don't know that I necessarily side with that entirely, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that most people will just be tuning this to see if Greg Hardy loses. And man, this is a tough fight for Greg Hardy. I don't want to be a Greg Hardy apologist, man. I'm not trying to be that guy. Listen, we've had a lot of experience with them, and we've had a lot of time with them, and I know that you can't mention Greg Hardy without mentioning his heinous past and what he was convicted of and all those things. But as far as what he's done since he came to the UFC, I've had respect for it, and I've had respect for the way he's handled himself and the things he's done. I will say this: I think he's crazy for taking this fight, man. I honestly, but let me add in that he is a different caliber of athlete than Alexander Volkov. Alexander Volkov is big and he's powerful and he's well-rounded, but he's very, very plodding basically in the way he moves. I don't think there's a lot of speed and explosiveness and quick twitch, So I don't think that Greg Hardy has no chance. I mean, an exhausted Derek Lewis was able to land a big bomb, and I think Greg Hardy packs the same type of power that Derek Lewis does. Mm-hmm. But it's just, to me, man, this is finding that haymaker, man. I in some ways I respect Greg Hardy for jumping in here. In some ways I think he's crazy.
Yeah, but I get it. I mean, I get it too. I mean, the last fight, he went in there feeling that he was on top of his game. That he was in great shape. That was be a fight that he was going to showcase the new skills learned, and he didn't get to do that. And then there were more questions about the fact of the whole, inhaler.
Yeah.
So what better way to get that fight out of people's minds than to quickly just erase it with another fight? And it's money. I mean, these guys are prize fighters. They need to have that money. So in a sense, by a no contest, he probably just lost half of his money right there. So he probably wants to get that money back. So I could see him wanting to go in, and this is the biggest test for him. If there was ever a fight that would establish whether or not he belonged in the UFC, I mean, he's getting wins, so I think people could say he already belongs because he's getting wins. There's absolutely no doubt in the world if he could go in there and beat Alexander Volkov, he most definitely belongs at this echelon of fighters. This would be a huge step up in competition and a huge tick in his hat.
I guess what it is that normally I would say, I hate to say no lose situation because a loss is a loss. Yeah. I mean, of course you can lose, but yeah, you're right. For the average person, this will be like, dude, look at this guy, man. He's taking a step up. He's trying to say,
Yeah.
But because it's Greg Hardy and because there are so many people that can't wait to just rub their hands together and be like, oh,
Yeah.
did you see that highlight of him getting his ass kicked? I told you he sucked. I told you he was no good. I told you the UFC's been sheltering him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it was just anybody else in the division or damn near on the entire roster, I would say, like, you know what, man? Kudos to you. And it's not like I'm saying, like, oh, this is so stupid, Greg, but it is, to me, man, this is wild because you're right. If he wins, it's going to be insane. But if he loses, and if for some reason it happens to be either A, a highlight reel fashion, or B, a god-awful fight, people are just going to wait to dance on the grave of Greg Hardy.
If it's a decision, I don't see what they can really hate on him. If he makes it through a decision and loses, I mean, if it's one-sided, I can see where people are like, okay, yeah, he was clearly outmatched.
What if it's Louis Ngannou-esque decision where nothing happens and it's garbage?
That would be garbage. Then people are like,
or
I just don't see that
happening.
happening.
What if it's 10-7, 10-7, 10-7?
Well, that's another thing. Then people would probably just be like, okay, yeah, you're not ready for this level. But again, remember, this is the guy that was so worried in the press conference that he had pissed off the bosses. You know, he was apologetic, to the point of just like that's all he could comment on, So obviously somebody wasn't either so mad or they were so mad they put him up against his toughest opponent to date, somebody that could literally lay some serious hands on him. But you're right. I mean, Alexander also cannot sleep on the fact that while this guy seems super inexperienced to his 30-7 record, this guy has extreme power. If he goes in there and thinks that he has the chin, that he doesn't have to worry about the power, it would be just as opposite, because then people could go, okay, maybe Volkov wasn't what we thought he was either.
Right.
If the new guy coming in was able to starch him. But I have no problem with the fact that he took it. I kind of applaud him for wanting to get in there and get rid of that bad taste in the mouth, because I was expecting much more in that last performance.
Yeah.
Outside of even the whole inhaler gate,
yeah.
I was expecting much more from seeing him. It seemed like he got sluggish towards the end, that he was doubting his own skills, but it could be the fact that Ben proved to be a lot tougher than I gave Ben credit for, and that could be my own fault of doubting what Sosoli was able to bring to it. He shined better than what I did, but that's also a big case of your opponent takes you to the level. If that was what, say, some people might say, okay, that's what brought Hardy down, he's going to have to be brought up to Volkov's level, or hope that Volkov gets brought down to his level. But God, I hope you didn't put that out in the universe with the whole fucking Lewis and Ngannou. That was fucking garbage. And I like both of those guys a lot. But that fight was so hard to watch because there was so much anticipation of, oh my God, it could be over at any point. Then it was like,
can't miss
they're
fight.
not even throwing a fight. They're not even punching. It was like, oh my God, I think I would make more contact than this. That was bad.
Well, hold on. All right, listen, the rest of this main card. And I get it. A lot of Russian names on here, of course. I mean, it's in Moscow.
It's in
you're
Russia.
Gonna have logos. Yeah, you're gonna have logos. But in case the name doesn't ring a bell, the third fight down, Zelim Imadaev. Remember him? Zelim Imadaev was the guy that lost the decision to Max Griffin out in Atlanta. Remember that they were like all week long, the staff was having to like separate them in the hallways, and the guy was like trying to attack him in the halls. I mean, the dude is like absolutely crazy. He wore the sunglasses to the official way. I mean, this dude is just. He's a 24-year-old that has a lot of talent, man. We had seen him train. He had come to Las Vegas and trained in Las Vegas, and we had heard stories of like people were like, we kicked that guy out of the gym because he doesn't understand how to spar.
He trains too hard.
Yeah, all he understands is just like trying to kill even when you're in training. So Zelim Imadaev is a deadly dude. He just ran into Max Griffin, who had a great fight and who's a tough guy. He's fighting Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. I think they did a good job of matching up kind of names that against these Russian names. Again, Ed Herman. Ed Herman has been around forever, man. The dude has been around forever. Fighting Kadis Ibragimov, who's lost in his UFC debut and returns here. Ed Herman, man, 21 UFC fights to his credit. Been fighting since Tough 3. Dude has been around forever. Anthony Rocco Martin, kind of a rebuilding story. You know, we had talked about how excited we were about the rise of Rocco, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything was just going great for him. And then, of course, he lost the decision to Damian Maia when he kind of took the step up. But, I mean, dude, you're talking about the absolute best of the division. Damian Maia is as good as it comes. So, to me, those 5 fights right there at the top, I'm excited for, man. I'm no disrespect to Klidson Abreu and Shamil Gamzatov.
I'll say that could be an okay fight.
Yeah,
right
there. that one is not one that I'm particularly I'm dialed into. I mean, Gamzatov comes in, you know, with the impressive undefeated career record, making his debut in the UFC. But I'll just straight up admit that I don't necessarily think that's going to be the most beautiful fight of all time. But those top 5, man, I think there's reason to be excited about. Okay, now as we switch to the prelims, I should make an important note here that we have also switched to the final beer of our flight today. By the way, I didn't even really look at it, but I feel like we went very German in our Latchkey path today. This is the we started out with the Festbier.
Festbier.
Which, that was see, that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. You just need to get a little in you. I like that.
That's what she said.
Then we went to the It's My Jam Berliner Weiss with strawberry and lemon. So that's
say that It's My Jam definitely doesn't. You
can't It's My Jam, but the Berliner Weiss. I mean, Berliner. I'm assuming that references Berlin, right? Or Berlin. Wow, that was.
Yep.
Okay, Berlin. Jeez.
Berline.
Well,
or it could be Berline. Is that how you want to pronounce it?
South Carolina. And it was a Weiss. And now we move on to the Slappenzwickel,
which is actually I haven't tasted.
It is a Zwickel beer, which a Zwickel beer is a German beer that is neither clarified nor pasteurized.
Yeah, you could tell. You could. It's hard to describe. It doesn't taste as like crisp or as like sort of like poppy in the mouth as the other ones. It's hard to describe. It fits. It sits differently on the tongue. Like it's not ringing. Like I'm not not taking. Well, plus after that last one with like the sour beer was hitting like different parts of the tongue. This one just kind of just like it's not bad, but it's not popping in like the mouth.
It's nice. It's just easy.
It's not bad.
It's not. I guess that would be the non-pasteurization of it. By the way, when you're collecting audio from all these fighters around the world, we should probably get Anthony to come in and explain it to us a little better. We're doing a terrible job of representing his product. He's probably like, why do I send these clowns my beer?
It's my jam.
He wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning and starts brewing stuff. By the way, he actually brews this with his own recipes, and then he probably thinks to himself, he probably hears these things back and says, why do I send this to these clowns? I should just send them a case of PBR. That's all they're capable of drinking.
That's all their palate can handle. No, it's not. I mean, they're good. They're not bad. But yeah, I mean, I think we had more variety last time. The ones that you brought last time, because we had that like dark one.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
This one, these all sort of fit the.
See, it's just me. I've just been grabbing like a
but
random
it's not bad
handful.
though. It makes sense though. They feel like these all kind of come from a family or similar, like they're similar sort of tasting.
A family of
outside
warm
of, I guess,
beer people that just embrace you with their hug and make you feel loved and warm.
Come in here, let me slap you with my Zwickel.
All right, listen, the prelims. Okay, I get it, understood again. A lot of Russian names on here, so it's probably going to be a little overwhelming to some people. But
don't rush to judgment.
See what you did there? That's so bad.
Slapping Zwickel.
That's terrible. All right, the featured prelim I'm actually pretty excited about. Magomed Ankalaev. All right, Magomed Ankalaev. Who's that guy? Well, remember, he's 2-1 in the UFC. The only fight he lost, remember, he was just beating the piss out of Paul Craig, and Paul Craig got that last minute.
Yes.
Paul Craig. Let me get the Scottish pronunciation right, since I love my man Paul Craig.
Still didn't sound
he's great.
Scottish at all. I thought you were gonna like put a little something.
Oh, I wasn't gonna do the
Paul Craig or Paul Craig.
I love Paul Craig. Saw him down in Mexico, and he was talking so slowly during our interview. It was awesome. It was so polite of him. But remember, he was beating the piss out of Paul Craig and then lost. Otherwise, he'd be 3-0. Meanwall, he's
459 of the round.
459 of round 3.
Triangle choke.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's fighting Dalcha Lung. I'm gonna mess his last name. Dalcha Lungiambula. Tough to say, but another one of these incredible fighters out of Africa. This kind of growing population of talented athletes out of that. out of that continent, which should be hosting UFC sooner rather than later, Democratic Republic of the Congo for Dalcha. Dalcha champion, as he's known out there. He was a 2-division title holder in EFC, and he is exciting to watch. So I'm really, really keyed up on that prelim. That's going to be one to watch. Rustam Khabilov versus Sergey Kondosko. Khabilov is an easy guy to write off, man. He's not the most exciting guy of all time, but I mean, he's just tough, man. He's durable as hell. And you look at these career records, man. 23-4 against 27-5-1. I mean, these are some solid fights to be had there. Roman Kopylov is an undefeated newcomer that a lot of people have been excited about. He's a former Fight Nights guy out of Russia, facing Carl Roberson, Baby K. So a couple of names there that you should know. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, I believe the actual cousin of Habib Nurmagomedov.
Oh, no way!
I know,
like a real cousin.
Like a real cousin. I know they like to say. The funniest one to me was Saeed Nurmagomedov, because Saeed, if you look at Saeed Nurmagomedov, he doesn't look anything like them at all. Like he doesn't look anything like Habib at all. And I think if I remember right, they actually put on like the walk-in graphic that he's Habib Nurmagomedov's cousin.
I think so.
And I remember I was talking to part of the team afterwards, and I'll just say part of the team in case the person doesn't want to be identified. But after the fight, I'm like, "Hey, is he Habib's cousin actually? Because he doesn't look anything like him." And they're like, "Well, you know,
he's my bro.
He's my bro." Yeah, they use cousin like brother or whatever, and I'm like, "But is he actually related?" And they were like, "No." And I'm like, "Did you tell anybody?" And they're like, "No." I mean, it's a nice marketing ploy. But I believe Abubakar Nurmagomedov is an actual cousin of Habib Nurmagomedov. So we'll see against David Zawada there. Roosevelt Roberts, I like Roosevelt Roberts, man. Of course, he's a guy that came off the Contender Series and has had a couple of impressive performances. Didn't win last time out, but I think he's got something there. I think he's still raw. I think he's very much developing his career. But I do think there's some talent there, and I'm not necessarily. I don't know if it's necessarily championship level, but I do believe it's somebody that that is going to have more ups than downs, man. So I believe he's still very, very young in his career. Now he's fighting Alexander Yakovlev, who had a great performance last time out against Alex Da Silva. He looked really, really good last time out. So this is a very, very tough test there for Roberts. So that's something to pay attention to. And then I think the one that's going to have the most mainstream appeal on the prelims. I mean, yes, I just went over a lot of hardcore scenarios for you, but again, I do think there are more reasons to watch this fight card than you might look at when you just take a quick glimpse. But the one that's going to have the
one that has me looking at it.
Yes, the one that is going to have the most mainstream appeal. Jessie Jess makes her return. Jessica Rose Clark against Pani Kianzad. Kind of a weird fight here that this is on here. This is the one that is kind of weird. Like, I don't know how this ended up on this fight card. But, you know, they have a women's fight here, which is cool. A bantamweight fight. And, you know, both women have shown real talent in their career. Both women have had some setbacks. And they've had some tough roads. And so, you know, I think this is going to be a key matchup. And I think that'll be the biggest one to pay attention to. And then wraps up with Davey Grant versus Grigory Popov. That's the one that starts things off. So fights start Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
Ooh, early.
I will be up early covering that. In fact, I'll tell you the team right now, just so you know. It is myself, Simon Head from over in the UK, and Nolan
Duke.
King. Yeah, the Duke. We got to make that stick, right? That's
The
just
Duke.
a made-up name. Well, if you make up the name from the internal chat, then maybe the other nickname that comes your way. We got a couple of them in there. All right. You already got cold coffee. But yes, the Duke, Simon Head, he'll be up early with us. Nolan King will be. So it'll be the three of us handling coverage on MMA Junkie. So if you want to chat during the fights, that'll be who do it. And then the young Mike Bond will actually pop on at 2 p.m. So he'll pop on from the main cards. We have a couple extra bodies. But cold coffee, like I said, some hardcore scenarios. I know right away you're looking for Jessica Rose Clark versus Pani Kianzad.
Speaking of talent, that fight's got talent on both sides.
But any other names or any other fights?
Even the first one, I'm gonna get. I think Davey Grant is fun to watch.
He is fun.
I love
He is fun to
watching
watch.
that dude fight. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of Russian names that I'm not the most familiar with. So I'm looking forward to actually see some of these guys. I mean, even though, no offense to them, some of these guys have fought on UFC cards, but it usually takes 3 or 4 times before some of these guys' names really start sticking. But there's there's a nice peppering of name value pretty much in every single fight. So now I'm excited right from the get go. So I'll be up watching. I'm excited for that Davy Graham. But yeah, I mean, Jessie Jess, she's awesome. I mean, I was shooting some stuff with her earlier this year that kind of never really panned out, but she's always been great to work with, and so she's here in Vegas, so you got to root for her.
No doubt.
But Panty Man, that's a fucking great fight, and they're not hard to look at. So of course I'll wake up early to watch that one. But yeah, I mean, going to Roosevelt Roberts, David Zawada's a good fight. I mean, the Roberson fight's good, dude. It's good.
It's sneaky fun, man.
It's
I think
sneaky
it's
fun. That's a
sneaky
good way
fun.
of thinking. Like I won't look at like 244 when you look top to bottom.
Yeah,
I was
you were like,
so excited about that. Am I that excited about this? No, but this is a card that I'm not going to be upset waking up a little bit early just to make sure that I've had some coffee to kind of take these fights in. I mean, this is going to be good. I mean, and I love the fact that I can have some college football on. There's no excuse to not get up and start watching this. But yeah, I'll be tuned in early. But yeah, if I had to pick my first fight, of course, the number 2 fight. But seeing Rocco in there, that should be interesting to see how he takes this fight. But
the good news is with it all being on ESPN Plus, it's on demand. So I mean, if you wanna tune in immediately afterwards, or you want to start a little late or whatever.
Is it immediately after?
Yeah, I think it archives pretty much. You know what? I should.
I'm not quite sure,
that.
but I mean, if there was ever an
It is,
organization that should have their shit right after it, those guys they certainly have the money, but it probably is pretty quickly. But I've never really.
I haven't tried it. You're right. I haven't tried because
I was watching when
Fight
they happened.
Pass was pretty close. Fight Pass is like archives pretty
better.
close.
It got better. So kudos on the UFC, man. They put a lot of money to sort of just not really use it as much, but
well, that's changing, by the way. But FYI for people that may think that Fight Pass, and I will just say, I mean, I mentioned earlier I had some meetings yesterday at the UFC with some of the Fight Pass people. I can't go into it yet.
We did call that LFA. I remember we were talking about that. We were like, that makes sense. So I mean,
they've got a lot of stuff coming in 2020. Some of the stuff they talked about.
Boxing's going to be there. Invicta wants to have all their shit there, so I'm sure that's going to be there.
There's some pretty interesting stuff. There's one announcement that I think is going to be made Monday that I wish I could announce, but I'm not allowed to. I mean, that was kind of an off-record me, but I think it's so fun, man. It's so cool, but it's not big enough to be like, oh, this is the future of the thing. It's just a really fun announcement, and as soon as it's announced, probably anybody that hears it, if there's an announcement on Monday, as soon as you hear it, you'll be like, that's what John was talking about, because I know he's a dork and this is making him excited. But they've got
mud wrestling.
They've got lingerie fighting championships coming to Fight Pass.
Yes, let's do this.
Our worlds collide, my man. Our worlds collide. We need
another one of those. We haven't done one of those in a while.
I know we haven't done one of those in a bit. No, it's not that. But listen, they do. So for anybody that thinks that Fight Pass is done because of ESPN Plus, I'll tell you this. They've got big stuff lined up in 2020, and obviously it's not my place to reveal some of the stuff that they want to reveal. But yeah, it's
which is good. They put a lot of money to get that thing. I mean, and I think we all can agree, it wasn't the finest product when it first started. But as they added more stuff and as they kept improving it, it was a stable environment. I mean, I could watch it on my Xbox, I could watch it on my phone, I could watch it on my laptop. It's a solid product now. So I'm glad they're keeping it going. I mean,
there's more stuff outside of just fighting coming to the network. I mean, they really want to be viewed.
Oh, see, now you're giving it away. A Food Network shit. There's a food wrestling.
They definitely do want it to be viewed as more of a network environment, not just a live events depot, but more of like a network environment. You know, the same way that you look at an ESPN Plus and they have a robust offering of the programs and shows outside of just live sporting events, and I think that's what they want to do too. So they got a lot of big stuff in the works.
As long as it doesn't become all just talking head shows. ESPN has way too.
Oh, they do have way too many talking head shows. They do. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that. But and the other thing is they have so many sports to serve. Like for instance, on ESPN Plus, one of my favorite things is every night I'll watch ESPN FC, which is about soccer. Yeah. Just because I don't really have time to really watch a lot of stuff, and it kind of sums everything up because I still like soccer, but my life is just owned by MMA, so I don't really have time to go read websites and consume. So there's just one daily news show, and it's 7 days a week, man. They rotate the hosts or whatever so they can go 7 days. So it's every single day, and I love that show. It could be better, but as far as having just daily content that I can consume every single day. It's awesome. Which I guess, by the way, as long as we're talking about something like that, we should tease what we started, or not tease. It's already out there, but the spinning backclick thing that we did this past week. We did it for the first time last week. The plan is to do it every Monday. It's called the spinning backclick. So if you see it on Tuesdays on MMA Junkie, please check it out. It's myself. Kind of hosting the thing, reuniting with the MMA Junkie crew, MMA Junkie radio crew, I should say, Gorgeous George and Goes. We're kind of the three on-air
Junkie
people.
Radio Studios there.
Shot in the Junkie Radio Studios.
Mandalay Bay.
Cold Coffee's the one shooting it and doing a phenomenal edit on it as well, man. I thought the first episode was fun, man. We do kind of 5 biggest topics from the weekend, 3 minutes each, so we try to keep it moving along, try to keep it under 20 minutes so it's not taking a ton of time, but we're still, hitting on some big topics and hopefully giving our opinions in that amount of time. It was fun. I mean, it was kind of a pilot episode, but we went ahead and pushed it live, and hope people will watch that, man. It was fun to do. So if you're okay with some talking head stuff, but not too much talking head stuff.
Well, see, we're good like that. We don't have a shit ton of talking head stuff. It's not like we have 24 hours a day of talking head stuff. And I'm not trying to pick on ESPN. That's a lot of shit to fill, let alone one channel to have 24 hours, but to have 6 or 7, however many damn channels they have. ESPN 1, 2, 3, ESPN U, ESPN News, ESPN fucking whatever, and then not to mention the ESPN Deportes.
It's a lot.
The foreign language ones.
It's a lot.
Those dudes.
I'll tell you something else kind of interesting that
I meant to ask, because we were thinking about the streaming channels. When is that Disney?
Okay, well, I had two last things to talk about.
I'm so glad. I'm so sad I missed that meeting earlier today.
We laid it out in the production meeting. The staff was wondering where you were at.
You're going to talk about The Mandalorian, right?
Well,
obviously.
Of course. It was right there in the notes. I have no idea what The Mandalorian is. The Disney Channel launches Tuesday. Disney Plus. I have not ordered it yet because I'm still waiting, and I think they're going to wait till launch day to show it, or maybe closer, I hope, because it's only like $70 a year. But I got to get Disney Plus. But it launches on Tuesday, but they're going to have combo packs with ESPN Plus and Hulu. That's what I'm waiting for.
See, that's going to be legit. Mandalorian is it's a series based upon the whole Star Wars thing. That's the bounty hunter.
I know Gina Carano was in it.
Fucking dope, dude.
Wait, so wait, the bounty hunter,
it's not Boba Fett. It's
I thought it was based around Boba Fett.
No, but he looks like him. But let me double check.
Because Boba Fett was the cool one with the green mask and everything, right?
Yeah. Let me hold on. Let me make sure. Okay. It was. That's what.
I can't find my production notes from the meeting earlier. We had discussed it in detail, and I'd written it down.
It's not. That's not the character, but that is. If you wanted to think about what the main character looks like, and I'm trying to quickly read on the wiki, but that's pretty much what the main character looks like. It looks like Boba Fett.
I'll say this, and
I want to say it's not Boba Fett.
Does Gina Carano play a big role in it? Or
I don't know. I mean, that's the great thing about these sort of stories. There's so many cool characters. She could have a decent sized role, but I mean, I'm not quite sure. I don't think she's the main thing, but for her to get billing and people to be saying her name, she's got to have a pretty
I will say,
role.
I mean, my kid is 7, and my kid has not seen the Star Wars movies. And basically, he'd gotten to the age where we were going to start maybe buying the Star Wars movies, but they're not cheap. And that's when we heard about Disney Plus, because it's been talked about for a year now or so. So I'm actually excited to sit down and watch the Star Wars movie with my kid because he's never done it. So I'm actually anxious to kind of watch all those. So I believe it or not, I am actually kind of excited for the launch of Disney Plus. Of course, it's a must-have if you have children in the house. And again, I think it's only $70 a year, but I want to package it together with Hulu and ESPN Plus. If I can save some money, I want to save some money.
Damn, this is Jon Favreau, I think, is the dude behind this.
Well, yeah. We talked about that in the production meeting.
You did not, but I fucking love him. And now, but I don't know, man. Gina's name pops up quite a bit when I pull it up, but when I look on the IMDb, she's not on that first front page.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be wrong. But I don't know if Jawa is the name or maybe it's just the Mandalorian is what they call. But he's got.
All right. Well, for anybody that's left listening, I just want to say one last MMA note. A lot has been talked about the January 18th event in Las Vegas for the UFC.
Cara Dune is what Gina's character name is.
Okay, the
Maybe
January.
It's Cara.
Carant? The January.
They're like, yeah, she won't be able to know what it's her name. But she looks like a badass. Look at her right there. Yeah, she looks buffed out.
Yeah.
That's hot.
Wow. All right. For anybody still left listening, the January 18th event in Las Vegas for the UFC, of course, that's where everybody's targeting, hopefully, Conor McGregor to come back. That is the first event of the year for the UFC, by the way. So they are doing December 21st in South Korea, and then they are not doing anything until January 18th. Now, I've also spoken to some people, some sources that have knowledge of the Bellator schedule. Now, Bellator has a pretty busy schedule at the end. Of course, they have December 20th and December 21st in Honolulu, Hawaii. Unfortunately, myself and Cold Coffee will not be going to that one. Matt Erickson is going to handle that one. Kind of, as it was, as it was presented to me, was a little bit of a reward for Matt Erickson because he's in Thackerville, Oklahoma this week. So that's the way it was kind of presented to me.
I want my Masubis.
Remember, at the end of the year, they have also got December 29th Bellator event in Japan. There's a December 31st Ryzen event in Saitama. They had a badass dual poster, by the way. If you didn't see that, it's on MMA Junkie. A really cool fight poster that promotes both events. And then the PFL is on December 31st. But I'm outlining all that to tell you that my understanding out of the major organizations, especially the top U.S. organizations, there will be no event between December 31st and January 18th. So we're only talking about 2.5 weeks, but we're talking about 2.5 weeks with no major events.
Wow.
So
you can probably catch up on this Mandalorian in that time, which it does show that Gina Carano does have a starring cast. And for people that were wondering about the Mandalorian, after the stories of and nobody
the Disney Plus Roadshow with host Cold Coffee
after
and
the stories
no co-host.
of Jango and Boba Fett, another warrior emerges in the Star Wars universe. The Mandalorian is set after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. So if you watch like the new Star Wars, like the latest ones, the First Orders are the bad guys because everybody always talks about the six or not the six the fucking. That's the car place. I got to take this call. You want to wrap this up?
Jesus Christ, thank God.
Everybody watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus.
Thank God he got that phone call, man. I couldn't take any more. I'll just say, if you made it this far, God bless you. And thanks for listening.